Alrighty. So it is the Love Live event. I did do the math. It looks like you need 13,000 to unlock it. And it's about 750 gems on average, with the maximum being around 1,000 gems. So I'd recommend spawning if you have somewhere between like 850 to 1,000. Now, when it comes to the actual procs on the weapons, these will turn into shutter gear, which is actually pretty good for newer players. So that's really excellent to see. And then, unfortunately, this defense gear goes to diamond. And the diamond proc is awful. It is a null proc, which are just horrible. So we're also still stuck on 45 cost, but I figured we'd go through these guys one at a time. This is what it sounds like. Oh, and this is Chika. I apologize, I don't know any of these, but she's actually really, really good. She hits 5 times with 800 ability power, which is really strong, especially for water. This will definitely kill. She applies Miracle, which is a better version of Resurrection, but Resurrection's super powerful nowadays anyway, so it's kind of, yeah. I mean, Miracle can only be applied once, though, so it's kind of unfortunate. Increases ability power to the max, critical to the max, and critical assault, all really good. Applies Blessing, which does cooldown reduction by 50%, applies Fortify so you can't die, and Siege, which isn't the worst one, but definitely isn't one of the best. Finally, applies Kijin. So this monster is a mega buffing monster. Gives 50k and rejection resistance. Rejection resistance is still quite good. And then 1,000 water defense. Water defense is super good right now. Pandora is still very, very viable. And because of that, getting high water defense is good. So usually I would say that this isn't good. Having this high of just water defense, but in this case, it's actually pretty good. So let's talk about this monster for free-to-play players and for newer players. That's going to be the focus, but I'll talk about for everyone else as well. For PvE, so when you're doing questing and stuff, this monster will be incredible. Actually, it's almost unbelievable how good this monster is. You're only missing a few things, but you get some incredible buffs. And this single monster is so good. It'll be able to carry you through everything. It's a 10 out of 10 PvE monster. Now, when we talk about PvP, it's very much the same. I mean, this monster is going to do very good damage. It applies really powerful buffs like Miracle and Fortify for defensively, but then it also gives you really powerful offensive buffs, as well as Kijin, which gives you all the penetration you'll need. So super valuable. In PvP, I would also say that this is a solid 9 out of 10 monster. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 is because no diffusion and no uni chaining. So we're not buffing our team's uni. And because we don't have diffusion and we also don't have a uni chain, there is a risk that you could lose throwing this monster. But it gives you almost every single powerful buff that you could want from a monster. And that's why it gets such a high score, especially the defensive stuff like Miracle and Fortify are super valuable in PvP. So yeah. When it comes to Guild battles, this will be quite a powerful monster. The amount of damage that this does and the amount of unique buffs that this monster gives is perfect for a round one throw, not a treasure hunter throw, not a racer, but as a secondary, like buffing up before you one shot Crystal. This is a 10 out of 10 monster for trying to kill Crystal and for pushing for damage. It's actually a really just good monster in general. You can also use this monster in things like Clash, because even though it doesn't guarantee killing, and it doesn't give you things like diffusion, it does apply tons of powerful buffs plus miracle and fortify, which means that even if you don't kill all the enemies, the likelihood that they're going to be able to kill you is pretty low. At least it's much more reduced. And this monster gives you basically every type of buff that you would want for one-shotting crystals. So you don't even really need to throw another buff monster. You can, but you'll need something like a field and a crest. You'll still need other things. But this monster is really good and will fit in nicely with a lot of good throws. All right, let's talk about Riko. I don't think she's nearly as good, but let's go over her. She penetrates, hits 5 times for really good damage. Unfortunately, she's dark though, so you can stack light and star against her. So she's not going to do nearly as much damage. She time slices. Now this is really important in previous strategies. Especially against things like Fortify, it can be really good. Honestly, nowadays, time slicing is really powerful, but unless you're applying enemy fields as well, it's not really a top tier monster. We're also adding things like Abstraction and Rejection. Both of these are or were top tier. Now they're not nearly as top tier. The Abstraction's basically garbage, and the Rejection is okay. Obviously, those are not PvE things, they're PvP and guild battle things. The Absolute and Elevation, that's actually really powerful. There are few monsters that give both Absolute and Elevation on a single monster. I just wish this monster did a little bit more, or maybe some other stuff. Applies Dawn, 50k, Dark, and Abstraction Resistance. Again, kind of talked about Abstraction Resistance. Nobody's using it. Nobody's using Abstraction because Nebulous is something that always lands. And it's really easy to stack against Abstraction Resistance. So it's not really that important. So let's talk about PvE. So when you're going in a quest, this is a garbage monster. You're basically only throwing this for Absolute, Elevation, and Dawn, and that is garbage. I'm going to give her a 2 out of 10. Honestly, yeah, there's just not enough here. It's, especially for dark monsters, there's so many good dark monsters. This monster, in fact, gets blown out of the water by some 44 and 43 cost monsters for questing. Riko is okay for PvP. There's no diffusion. The time slice is nice. The elevation's nice. The Absolute is pretty nice. Abstraction, Rejection are okay. For PvP, I'd say that this monster is solidly in the 4 out of 10. It's like we're missing things. We're missing diffusion. We're missing Unigain for the allies. We're missing like enemy fields and other stuff. Honestly, she's super underwhelming. For first round guild battles and for clashes, I would never use this monster for any reason. So 1 out of 10. Yeah. Basically, you're only using it for monsters. Or for the damage, sorry. Yeah, so Riko, in my opinion, is pretty hot garbage. Um, but it's fine because she's not that pretty. Finally, we'll talk about you. And you is super fascinating. I'll just be honest, I don't really know how this is going to work out. I'll just go over everything she does. Again, 800, which is pretty good. Applies Insanity, which is probably one of the most oppressive debuffs in the entire game. So if you're going to apply a stupid debuff, Insanity is one of the best. All allies increases HP by 100%. Now, there is no HP cap. So this is super fascinating that a team is actually leaning into HP being a viable stat, and they're just giving a buff purely on HP. Super fascinating. I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know how exactly this is going to work out, or how powerful it'll be or not be or whatever, but it is kind of interesting, and I like the uniqueness. Vital Strikes is very good and extremely rare, which I like. Cost recovery speed is pretty uncommon nowadays, as well as Unigain. There seems to be a lot of other things going on, and so I like that this monster gives a lot of unique buffs. Phalanx, in my opinion, is pretty garbage, but you know, what are you going to do about it? The only thing that's good about it is when it pops. It gives you cost and uni. Now, this is the thing that I have no idea how it works. So this is pure speculation, but it applies a new thing called Vanguard Tactics, which increases all stats by 150%. Nullifies buff removal effects, applies vital strikes by 5%. We know what vital strikes is, but it's only by 5%. And then applies Daredevil, which fills Unison gauge by 30 when an enemy player is defeated for 120 seconds. Now, I don't think that this is a field, because usually there's additional text that says something like to the allied field. Now, I'm not seeing that here. It doesn't say to the allied field anywhere. So it kind of sounds like this is a solo buff, which is really interesting. The Daredevil actually is super impactful because the 30%, the 30 uni gain will apply after you've used this monster, so you won't have uni, so it can help you gain uni, plus the bubble gives you more uni. It's actually a really interesting buff. The thing that I'm not sure about is the way that Unison League does damage calculations is a little bit jank. So it applies things like crest and field to your current stats. That's why you get such a huge damage boost when you apply those, because you can boost your elemental advantage and your, like 100 and you can get like 200% buff and ability power, and you can like get all these buffs, right? And then you can get an even greater buff with crest and field. So that's why those are so important. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this Vanguard tactic applies its buffs, but it seems really good. 120 seconds is pretty good as well. It's also unclear whether this Daredevil only applies once, because usually speaking, the Daredevil only applies once, and then it goes away. But it's kind of unclear as to now how powerful this will be. Now let's finish it out. 50k on 2 stats, Insanity Resistance, which is pretty good, Time Element, and then Twilight. Ooh, that is really, really powerful for PvP and guild battles and stuff like that. So, because it gives you penetration to everything. Okay, so where do I think that this monster stands when it comes to PvE? Especially for new players, this is not a great PvE monster. The tactics is really powerful, and it's unclear whether or not this will be able to carry you because it does apply to you. I mean, technically speaking, usually in your early quests and stuff like that, your stats are super important, but you're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. And generally speaking, your CBUs and stuff are pretty garbage, and they end up killing themselves on things like reflect. So I like this. It's unclear whether or not it'll actually be able to help carry you. You're missing things like crest and field and yeah. But I'll say, especially for new players specifically, for PvE, I think this is a solid 6 out of 10, with the caveat that this Vanguard tactics could be much better than I'm thinking it is, but yeah. Now, as far as like general PvE goes, this is not too bad of a monster. I'm gonna give this monster a solid 8 out of 10. Again, with the caveat that Vanguard tactics could work differently than I think. But the main reason why I'm giving this an 8 out of 10 is because it gives a lot of unique buffs. Keep in mind, if you're solo throwing this monster, it is garbage for general quests, especially when you have a whole team. It is not a great buff for uni. If you're just solo throwing this, probably a solid 3 out of 10 in like most quests, especially late game quests. It's gonna be super specific, but the uniqueness of the buffs are really, really powerful. So I'm assuming that you have at least one competent person who's throwing something like field or crest or 200% buff to add to your team. Now, I think where this monster is really, really interesting is in PvP and in guild battle. I think specifically for PvP, this monster's super strong. And like just weird. It's kind of like the HP is super valuable nowadays, especially since you can stack it. It's also unclear whether or not this HP is like applies differently to your base HP. If you have a front slotted monster in that boosts HP. So there are some testing things there, but 100% HP is a lot of HP. That can make the difference between whether or not you win or you lose. Now, the Unison gauge is also kind of iffy. It is really powerful, but kind of depends on the team. These two buffs are also really interesting. The Phalanx and the Vanguard can work in conjunction to allow you to uni again quite quickly. Also, keep in mind that Twilight gives you all the penetration you would need. You are missing things like diffusion and uni boosting, though, and because of that, I just can't put this super high. I will also say that a lot of people are struggling to kill people in PvP, and this will make things a lot harder compared to other unis because it doesn't give you a ton of damage. Most of these buffs are super unique types of niche buffs, but the Insanity is actually quite notable as being one of the most oppressive debuffs in the game. Overall, I can't really rate this higher than a 6 out of 10. It is super interesting and unique. And if you did throw this into like multiple people, I think that it could be, or like if your team was also throwing, I think that it could be quite good. But as it stands right now, I don't think it's not going to kill anyone. And the Insanity may land, but probably not. The rest of it is kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't think that it's breaking. It's not a game breaking uni. For first round guild battle, I think that it's hard to say. I think for like a treasure hunter, you would never use this because it doesn't uni boost. However, the Unison gauge boost is kind of good. It's unfortunately just stuck at 2. And the HP is powerful as well. No resurrection on this is actually quite notable. Treasure hunters also don't really kill people, so it's a really weird uni, to be honest. I think that this could be okay, and like when you're buffing up, I think it could be pretty good. Where I think that this really shines is potentially in the one-shotting, or when you're going like when you're clashing in second round clash. I think that it could actually be quite powerful because of the potential to hit insanity. You're boosting your HP, just pure HP boost, which is really quite valuable. You're gaining a very unique buff, which can allow this buff plus like field and a lot of strong buffs. You could have one person probably one shot the crystal. My guess is that this will be so powerful on some whales that a solo person could just, in the 40-second time, with if just one person lives, they could probably solo the crystal. So I do think that this is a really super unique type of monster, and it could see play, but we're gonna have to see how powerful this Vanguard tactics is. So because there is some uncertainty, if I'm going off of like the far end, I still don't think that this monster is exceptionally good. It's just really unique, and I do like unique things. So I'm a little bit biased, but I would say in second round clash specifically, this would probably be a solid 5 out of 10 for most guilds. But if you put together a really, really strong time light dark star throw, you need 2 time monsters. This could fit in really nicely, and I think if you planned well as a guild, this could be a solid 9 out of 10 for guild battle clashes. So I wouldn't use this in the first round basically ever, unless one person on your team is just such a whale that they can actually one shot with this Vanguard tactics plus other buffs, like simple buffs. So yeah, it's a really interesting monster. I don't think that it's going to be meta defining. Again, more testing is required though. And yeah, that's pretty much all of the spawns. Again, never, ever, ever spawn this. You will never get the monsters. Let's talk about... Oh, this... Yeah, already... Everything else is good. Okay, cool. So, yeah. I will catch you guys later, and good luck in the rankings.